Thank you. I don't know if I'm sharing my screen. Everybody's seeing the. Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
that's fine. Good afternoon. My name is AnaGarcia from the University of Santiago de Compostela, and my area of research inside the Atlantic Positive Project is the economic area. We tried to calculate the costs incurred by beekeepers in the fight against Vespa velutina. As all the other speakers said this morning, Vespa velutina is seen in Europe as an enemy of honeybees, and damages on fruit production have been reported as well. But there is little data about the economic impact of Vespa velutina over those activities, in part because it is difficult to disentangle the causes of colony losses. It could be weather, insect diseases, parasites, etc. Why we want to measure the economic impact? Because we need to make visible the dimension of losses, and to measure in economic terms is a way to make visible these losses. Because also as well, because governments are intended to develop plans against Vespa velutina, as it is an invasive species. And the economic resources dedicated to this should be spent efficiently. Then is a good thing to measure in terms of in economic terms this kind of things. And as well, because beekeepers and other producers are dedicating resources, time, money to the fight against the Asian hornet. They should have interest in calculating if their efforts are balanced with the benefits they would attain. In the Atlantic Positive, we adopt the cost-benefit approach. The cost-benefit approach consists in compare the benefits obtained by an action with the costs that it entails. This approach can be adopted for the assessment of the efficiency of a certain policy, a national strategy against Vespa velutina, for instance, comparing the costs of implementing it and the benefits obtained by such a policy. This approach can be adopted as well for the assessment of the efficiency of each method of fight, comparing the costs of their implementation and the benefits obtained. For doing so, we need information about the effectiveness of each method.
Can I just check with you, Anna?
Yeah?
Are you expecting your screen to be changing at all?
It's not changing.
Not changing at the moment, no. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, and I don't understand why. Okay. I share another. I'm going to share another thing.
Okay.
Perhaps this one. If share. And now
I can see your version of it because I can see the side. That's better. The screen has changed. Yes.
Is it moving? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
For doing so, for assessing the costs of that the invasion are producing, we need to identify these costs. I'm going to take okay. The cost could be costs incurred by administrations normally. Oh, I'm sorry. In the short run, costs incurred by producers that they are as well in the short run, costs costs borne by workers and people, as Julio tell before, in diverse of activities on the ground, and costs borne by environment. This we are going to assess that in the long run, because we don't have a lot of information about what is happening in ecosystems with this invasion. Atlantic Positive is intended to assess the economic impact on beekeepers across various regions of Europe, Galicia and Basque Country in Spain, north of Portugal, and Nouvelle-Aquitaine in France. The economic impact may be measured through the monetary valuation of reported damages, plus the cost of efforts made to prevent and to fight against the Asian hornet. These are the costs that we have identified. Costs derived from losses and damages, as losses of production or losses, losses of colonies. Costs derived from the fight against Vespa velutina, by trapping, nest destruction, and all other methods that we have identified, and costs related to the prevention of invasion, like training courses, search of information, etc. For valuing this, we are going to use some indicators. For example, for valuing in monetary terms the costs of fight, we are going to use market prices for material used in baits, nest destruction, and etc. But as well, we are going to measure and value the time employed in the construction and application of a certain fight method. Time is very important, because in Europe, and I don't know if in UK as well, a lot of beekeepers are not professional beekeepers. There is an important amount of non-professional beekeepers or hobby beekeepers that employ their time in using a lot of methods against the Vespa. It means that there is this time spent on doing that is not a financial cost, but is an economic cost. If we have to pay for applying this method, then we would be obliged to pay something. But like is the beekeeper who employ this time, normally they don't account for this cost, and it's very important. To valuing the costs of prevention, tariffs, we are going to use tariffs on training sessions, and as well, we are going to value the time employed in training. And finally, to value costs of losses and damages, we employ market prices for honey and estimation of losses through beekeepers' declaration. Here we have a problem, but normally it's very difficult to identify losses on honey produced or caused by Vespa velutina attacks. It's very unclear to know if a certain decrease of production is due exactly to the attacks received by the Vespa velutina, and in which amount. In previous research, that we have done in Galicia in 2016, we found that between 2015 and 2016, the losses in terms of in monetary terms were between 7% and 20%. But we couldn't determine that these losses were caused by Vespa velutina attacks. The costs of fight was evaluated in 21% of production value for this year. In other studies made in Europe, nest destruction in France between 2006 and 2050 was estimated in 23 million euros. Okay. And the yearly costs of nest destruction is estimated in almost 12 million of euros in France and 9 million of euros in Italy. For the previous study what we carry on in Galicia, we found this relationship between attacks and losses for the beekeeping units that don't receive any attack. They reported 17% of they reported losses. For those who receive weak attacks, 35% declared to have had losses, and for those who receive hard attacks, 33% declared to have had losses, and for those who received very hard attacks, more than 5 Vespas behind in front of the apiary, in front of the hive, 53% of people declared to have had losses. This made for us an hypothesis to try to verify, and for doing that we used a multiple correspondence analysis to identify, among other factors, possible influences of Vespa velutina attacks on the variation of honey production, as well as the influence of management and technical economic characteristics. We did not observe a specific relationship between Vespa velutina attacks and production variation for this year. It's a little bit, well, it's not an observation of a lot of years. It's only between 2015 and 2016. It's not really a lot of observation to conclude that, but we didn't observe any specific relationship. This seems to be more strongly related to the variations on production. Seems to be more strongly related to management in such a way that those farms that have carried out some types of management different from the basic one achieve increases in production, or at least absences of variations. Vespa velutina attacks seem to be clearly related to natural temperature conditions, as other speakers said before at the beginning of this morning. And in this short period analyzed, variations in production were related more to climatic conditions than to the presence of the Vespa. But this is a thing that other researchers are focusing, are studying in order to try to account exactly which are the losses produced by the Vespa. for the research, for the results of the research on the Atlantic positive project, we can we carry out a survey among 378 beekeepers in 3 European regions, and the results that we are going to offer to you are elevated to the total population. Here we have for the 4 regions, not 3 regions, sorry. For the four regions, you can see the amount of interviews that we done. 151 for Galicia, 50 for the West Country, 70 for the north center of Portugal, and 107 for the Nouvelle Aquitaine. And here you have the total number of bee farms in these areas. By statistical arrangements, the results that we are going to offer are for the total population, not only for the bee farms interview. Here you are then for the 4 areas, the costs that are referred to the year 2020, the total cost of on fight and on training were almost 8 million of euros. We estimated a total cost more or less on 8 million of euros. On training, this was the amount 600 well, I'm I'm not sure now how to read this figure. 663,000 of euros. I don't know what happens here. I'm sorry. This is in I thought that it was in English, but not. This is the reduction of the entrances of hives, and for that they spent 853,000 of euros. In artificial feeding is 1 million of euros, more than 1 million of euros, and for the baits trapping, they spent almost 4 million of euros. In terms of percentage, we can see that the most used methods in terms of in economic terms were the were trapping and baits. Almost the half of the total costs were produced by the use of trapping. Another very used method is the reduction of height of entrances of hive entrances, 11%, and this 14% is for artificial feeding. That is a very expensive method. And here we have 8%. This 8% is for the there's something missing here. Sorry. Well, I don't remember, but I can tell you afterwards. And we have here Trojans that are quite used. Yes. Trojans are 1% not quiet use, but only 1%. This 8% is training. I'm sorry, it was seen very, I was not seeing properly the graph. This 8% is training, and this 3% is nest removal, but nest removal by beekeepers with their own means, because a lot of nests are removed by the authorities. Then here is not accounted. We only account the nest removal made by beekeepers. Here we have the weight of these costs incurred by beekeepers on the value of production. In total, for the 4 areas, we found that 10% of the value of production was dedicated to the fight against Vespa velutina. This was only 5% for France, 20% for the Basque Country, almost 20% for Galicia, and 15% for the north center of Portugal. The question is, why in France is less? We can answer that in France the value of production is greater than in the other regions, and the costs of fight are lesser because they use different methods than in the other areas. In 2 slides we can see the breakdown by methods. Here we present the average amount spent by a beekeeper in their fight against Vespa velutina. 458 euros for the in average for the all areas, 385, almost 86 for France, 573 for Basque Country, almost 600 euros per beekeeper for Galicia, and 366 for Portugal. These differences reflect as well the experience of beekeepers in the fight. In France, they are dealing with the Vespa from 20 years ago, and in the rest of the areas is more the presence of Vespa velutina is more recent, and the alarm is more important. It makes that people is well, the people, beekeepers spend more money, more resources, and more time in the fight because they are afraid about the Vespa. Here you can see the estimations of values for each method and each area, each region. And as I was saying before, in France, they use they spend differently money and time than in the other areas. Trapping is the most important cost everywhere, but training is more important. Well, in relative terms, is more important in the Basque Country, Galicia, and north of Portugal than in Nouvelle Aquitaine, even if in total terms is an important number. The reduction of entrances of heaps are more used in Nouvelle Aquitaine and in the north of Portugal than in the other regions. And the muscles at the entrances of heaps, or the protective mesh on the entrances of heaps, are as well more used in France. Trojans are especially expensive in Galicia, and well, I don't know exactly why, but the cost here is very, very high in the comparison with the other areas. Artificial feeding is an important way to do or to contribute to be stronger, that heaps could be stronger again in front of the Vespa attacks. And we can see that Galicia, the north of Portugal, is the where people incurred in a more huge costs in this method. And electric arcs are as well very used in Galicia and in the north center of Portugal. And I don't know if well, yes, I have still 10 minutes, but I think is that I wanted to say to you, I'm sorry for my not very good English, and I wanted to thank all the beekeepers associations that help to do this research, and especially to Maria Amparo Ferreira Golpe and Ivan Vázquez González, who made the an important part of the estimations that I presented today. And I would like to say that this is the first time that this data are presented. Thank you very much for your attention.
Can I say thank you very much for that? That was an interesting scenario of prices and things, which is quite frightening. It is incredible how it's going to affect economics. And thank you for struggling to actually put it over in English for us so we could understand you. I'm really grateful for that. And you did actually manage it extremely well. So thank you very much. Appreciate that. May we use your slides and presentation on the YouTube? Thank you. That's lovely. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that.